What's up, everybody? My name is King Freddy, and I'm ready to bust up in this bitch like confetti. And today, we're gonna be reacting to Behind the Song, Suicide with Ren. Now, this is a video made by Mind, the mental health charity, and I believe it's an expose on Ren and his song Suicide. So... let's get started. If you have not yet joined my Royal Court family, you could do that by hitting the subscribe button down below, ringing the notification bell so you can receive all the notifications for all of my videos delivered directly to you. Let's do this. Oh, and we're gonna go ahead and hit this like button right now, and I want y'all to do that, definitely. For shizzle, my professor.
Welcome to Minds Behind the Song. Today, I'm joined by a man whose talent knows no bounds. His music is raw, it's real, and it's truly artistic. Ren, who has himself got a mental health story, has released a follow-up to his highly successful viral hit, Hi Ren. Today, we talk about suicide. Ren, before I begin, just a bit of disclaimer to yourself and the audience. I have lived with experience of suicide. I lost a loved one to suicide. Yeah. And I've also contemplated, attempted it several times. So I say that as an outset because I want to say thank you. Because this song helped me. Because it really just shows the true emotion behind what someone is going through as a loved one and also what someone probably is going through when they've got it. Yeah. And I look at your comments on all the songs and there's loads of fans that will say that. I just kind of want to know, what does that mean to you? Instead of talking about the actual song, what does it mean to you when you see fans that you're having such a positive impact with?
I think trying to step away from it and take more of a bird's eye view. With my music, I've always tried to almost create a space of being a voice for the voiceless, you know, because you don't hear a lot of stuff in music particularly that will deal with things like chronic health problems, suicide, severe depression, whatever. And it's really important for me to create something that's a companion for people going through those things. And it's a bit of when you're sitting down, you're trying to digest the fact that people will say, I was thinking about this and I heard this song and then it stopped me. It's a really big thing to try and digest. And actually, I almost detach myself from it because it's quite a weighty thing and it's almost like a responsibility in a way. But I think it's beautiful. I think what my favorite thing about it is this terrible situation that happened and this thing that was a really insidious situation for me, whether it was like Joe dying or whether it was my own mental health declining and my own relationship with it. It's like, if I've been able to alchemize that and turn that into a piece of music that then saves people, it's been transformed into something that's light for someone else, or it's a buoyancy aid for somebody else. So yeah, it means an incredible amount actually, because it justifies my journey with it. Otherwise it's pointless, it's for nothing. And
I totally agree. You know what I mean? It's basically turning a bad situation into a good one, you know? Making something out of nothing. And that's the definition of humanity, right? That's what we're always trying to do and trying to achieve. Trying to take our own experiences and the things that we suffer through and somehow manifest that into something that helps others. And so I could definitely see how impactful that is and how important that is and how heavy on the heart that is, because everybody tries to do that. Everybody wishes that they can find a way to just channel all that negativity and negative energy into something that eventually finds its way into helping somebody else, right? So yeah, I totally agree.
It means an incredible amount actually, because it justifies my journey with it. Otherwise it's pointless, it's for nothing. And yeah.
So tell me, what was the motivation behind the song Suicide?
It's funny because I started actually writing that in one of the lockdowns. It was something that I'd been holding on to for a while, and it was just initially it was meant to start.
That's crazy. Do you know how long it's been since the lockdowns? To be holding that for that long? Holy crap.
Motivation behind the song Suicide?
It's funny because I started actually writing that in one of the lockdowns. It was something that I'd been holding on to for a while, and it was just initially it was meant to start about my own journey with my mental health problem. So the first half of the song is like it's got this kind of catchy beat, but the lyrics are a little bit more heavy to kind of counterbalance that, make a bit of a juxtaposition out of it. But initially that was the song, and I finished it, and I had this song, and then I had a release date, and it was coming up. It was about 4 weeks before it was about to come out, and I was just like, something about it just feels incomplete. Like I don't know what it was, but I was just like, and because it was quite short, it was like 2.5 minutes. I was like, all these like longer songs coming out. I was almost like, oh, I wonder if people would be disappointed about it. So I sat with that feeling for a while, and I was like, well, if I'm feeling apprehensive about the release, I'll just change it, right? So I sat down with the piano and I came up with this sort of like melancholy piano thing. I used to like what artists like Kendrick do when there's a sudden beat switch and it just takes it somewhere really unexpected. So I had this idea. I was like, well, I'm just going to add something to it. And initially, like it wasn't meant to go the way that it did. It was just going to still be about me. And I had this line like, it's hard to take off from the ground when your wings are cut. Your stomach burns when you drink from an empty cup. I had these 2 lines. And then it just kind of like, it came out almost unintentionally about Joe. And it turned into something that I hadn't really addressed in almost like a decade of thinking about it. Because I thought I dealt with it. I thought that I processed it. I thought, but evidently there was still a bit of an untapped reservoir of stuff there.
Shit happens for a reason. Shit happens for a reason. And there was something deep in your soul, deep in your spirit that said that basically decided that you have not dealt with it. Apparently you had not completely dealt with it. And so that's why there was that thing in the back of your mind and that thing deep in your heart that said that this song isn't finished. We're not done here. This isn't ready to be put out. You need to add to it. You need to do more to it. And this was the purpose of that. It was a cathartic moment meant to, have you just get all of that extra stuff out of your system. You know what I'm saying? So things happen for a reason.
Decade of thinking about it because I thought I dealt with it. I thought that I processed it. I thought, but evidently there was still a bit of an untapped reservoir of stuff there. And as soon as I started talking about it, I think it's because there were things that I hadn't thought about in the perspective of it. And the first second it came around was when I wrote down that line that I locked my youth inside a trunk inside a pickup truck, then dumped it off the same bridge the night you jumped. And I thought about it, and it was like, it was actually really accurate that it almost felt like I lost my innocence and my youth when Joe died, because before that, it felt like I was living this impenetrable bubble where you hear about death, but it never penetrates your sphere of existence. So it's like, it's something that happens to people, but it's almost like a myth, right? And then suddenly someone you're talking to every day and has shared all these life experiences with you and you share all these things with just isn't there anymore. And you're like, damn. And it made me grow up very quickly.
Yeah, and there's a line in it, I'm going to butcher the line, you'll probably be able to do it much better, where you talk about the hearse, and a lot of the suicide, and a lot of people who have these things don't have that opportunity to go to a gravestone, and say goodbye. Same for me. So I go to a bench in a park.
Yeah.
Is this song for you your kind of gravestone in a way, in the sense of like you can listen to it and remember about Joe?
Well, I like to do things in tribute, whether it's my gravestone, I'm not sure, but it's definitely true what you say, because like last year my nan passed, but we knew it was happening. We had a lot of time to like talk to her, and it was beautiful. And she passed, we'd had that time to like process it together. Whereas when Joe died, no one expected it, so there wasn't ever a point of like, oh, this is happening.
Yeah.
Goodbye. It was just like,
yeah,
gone. Yeah, whether or not it's gravestone, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So basically, throughout the song, in that song, throughout all your music, in High Ren, it's your transition to spoken word at the end. And the spoken word is so powerful. In High Ren, it was so lovely what you said. And then in Suicide, the raw emotion in your voice when you do the spoken word part of Suicide is it gets to a lot of people, and it's beautiful. Is this something you wanted to do throughout your songs, that you just want to kind of sing the song and then kind of bring the spoken word bit in to kind of give it more context?
Yeah, sometimes it's not really like an intentional thing. It's just what feels right at the time, and for that, it did feel right at the time.
I totally agree. It's not something that you can plan out. You know what I mean? Excuse me, because the creativity and the art that Ren creates, that anybody creates, really, it's just an moment of the opportunity, right? An opportunity of the moment. Excuse me, that's the correct way of saying it. The opportunity of the moment. It's like what happens in that moment when you're creating it. Otherwise, it's not something that you can plan, right? Like, you can come into creating a song, to writing a song, and think that you're going to transition into spoken word, and at the end of the day, it just doesn't fit,
Sing the song and then kind of bring the spoken word bit in to kind of give it more context.
Yeah, sometimes it's not really like an intentional thing. It's just what feels right at the time, and for that, it did feel right at the time. I don't know why, and I think it was also when I was recording that last section. It's like I'd write 2 lines, I'd record them, and usually I memorize the piece, then I record it in the vocal. But I wasn't doing this. I'd write 2 lines, record it, come back, write 2 lines, record it, and all of that was the first pass, and that's why I was crying, because it was so fresh for me. And I thought, I'm crying there. That sounds a bit imperfect, or the timing sounded a little bit imperfect at times, and I was like, that's great.
Yeah,
just leave it like that. Like, it's got to be that raw, because what it's talking about is imperfect and messy. So like, why am I trying to like perfect this? So I just left it what it was, and I left it with me bawling my eyes out on it. And I actually think
that's what makes Ren so amazing, right? Because other people would have went through there and tried to redo it, you know what I mean? Tried to perfect it, but he has the innate ability to pick up on the fact that, okay, no, this imperfection is what makes this extra special. So why fuck with it, right? And so a lot of artists don't have that ability, right? As good as a lot of artists out there are, and there's a lot of great artists out there, but that's a special extra ability that only a select few have. You know what I mean? And because everybody deals with their own inner thoughts and their own anxiety and their own demons. So, and the inner thoughts that tell you that this isn't good enough, or that you're not good enough, or the imposter syndrome. You know what I mean? So everybody, even the greatest artists out there, deal with that, but not everybody has the ability to take a step back and say, actually, no, this is what makes that extra special. And Ren has that ability. And thank the heavens he does. Or the spaghetti monster. You know what I'm saying?
Talking about is imperfect and messy. So like, why am I trying to like perfect this? So I just left it what it was, and I left it with me bawling my eyes out on it. And I actually think it's better that way. It was more true to what it was talking about.
It is beautiful and genuine. So, so I think the process of writing the songs, was it a positive experience as a general for you to write this song? You touched on it previously, but in terms of addressing the situation, addressing suicide, and because obviously...
Yeah, I think it's always positive. No matter whether it's a song that's like heavy like this one or lighthearted, I think it's always, I always feel a little bit lighter after it. It's because of alchemy, because it was what we were talking about before. But yeah, it was incredibly positive, I think, to have it out there. And I always like to feel like I'm honouring somebody who I think deserves to be honoured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, within the song, it's very raw and it's kind of very powerful. It must be very hard for you to kind of think about what the listeners will think about it when you're writing the song, because you're in that moment in the song, I suppose.
Yeah.
But as soon as you finish a song, does the thought of the listeners come in mind, or do you kind of think to yourself,
funny enough, never for me I've never really thought about it very much. Like, I think about it the most when I'm showing a friend and I see their reaction. But I feel like for me, when I'm in the process of creating something, the second I'm thinking about the intent of it, I feel like it's almost been spoiled, because I want it to be like a true expression of me, regardless of if it's going to be a catchy hook or if it's someone's going to like or dislike this or that. I feel like for me, like the second I start thinking of its objective, I'm missing the point of it being an expression of, like, a pure expression of what it is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. That's what makes Ren so special, because not a lot of artists have that ability. That's what I was just saying a few minutes ago. It's like your art is supposed to be a pure expression of yourself and your emotions. And when you start, going into how somebody might perceive it or, react to it, then it's like it's no longer yours. It's no longer your art, right? It's just been completely, adulterated and changed and adapted to what might please somebody else. No, when you're creating art, you create art the way you want to create it. You create it with your own passion, with your own, emotions and how you feel, right? And however it once you release it into the wild, however it's perceived and it's received, it is what it is, right? At the end of the day, it is what it is. It's gonna reach people. The people that will actually appreciate it and love it and, cherish it will receive it and will show that, right? And it might take a long time. I mean, how many years has Ren been making music? How many years has he been suffering with his personal illness, right? And it's like he's been in the game, like rappers say. He's been in the game for years, man, and he's just now starting to pop off outside of the UK. And it's like, it might take a very long time for your art to reach the correct people who will appreciate it. But it will reach them. It will definitely reach them. And unfortunately, sometimes it takes more time. Like, it doesn't happen until after the artist is dead. You know what I mean? Like after the artist has passed away or, by natural causes or whatever, right? There's a lot of artists that their art don't get well received until after they had passed away. You know what I mean? And so it's unfortunate, but, your art is going to be received and it's going to be perceived the way it should be perceived by the people who will appreciate it. It just will take time. And there's no formula that can calculate that or dictate how long it would be.
I feel like for me, like the second I start thinking of its objective, I'm missing the point of it being an expression of, like, a pure expression of what it is.
Yeah. So responses from the song Suicide that you had, I saw a lovely thing where you actually took it to Joe's parents, didn't you? Was it? I saw a lovely thing. How was that? Tell me about that.
It was beautiful, actually. To be honest, there was moments where it was like, obviously, I mean, I haven't seen him in a while, so long time, over a decade, and so funnily enough, they'd moved house just across the street, so we were banging the house. We were like, I didn't even tell her because I wanted it to be a surprise. We got there, I was like, oh no, damn! And then we got lucky because we phoned up my friend, and he was like, no, they just live across the street. We knocked on the door, and she answered, and she was like, yeah, it was a beautiful moment, and we sat down. I played them the live version that I filmed over Calgary that's out now, the live spoken word version, and I sat there with Joe's mum and dad, and broke down in tears, all of us. I was crying before they were crying because the weight of what I was showing them, like, sunk in very quickly. I was like, I'm showing the mother of this guy something I've written about, very specifically about him, like, there wasn't a holding back. And yeah, but it was beautiful. And like, she gave me a big hug afterwards, and I let them know that, because I put 50% of all the Freckled Angels albums sold for that couple of months aside to give them. And I said, look, I've got this money. I know that, I was like, please don't see this as sympathy money. I've been so inspired by your son to write this and to write songs before, and I almost feel like you own this money. It's not mine. She was really over the...
Man, that must have been really, 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 really a heavy emotional moment for Ren because, you know, having to perform that, which was a great thing on his part. I mean, let's just say for most people, it would have been too much of a thing to do, that it would have been perceived by them as too difficult of a hurdle to get through in order to perform that in front of the, Joe's parents, that they wouldn't have done it. They wouldn't have even like went through 98% of what he did to get to that point, right? They wouldn't have been at that point, right? And so it's like, I commend him for that, and I'm sure that it meant a lot to Joe's parents, for sure.
I've been so inspired by your son to write this and to write songs before, and I almost feel like you own this money. It's not mine. She was really over the moon with that because she was been saving for this camper van. And she was like, I'll be able to buy it now. So I was like, wait, and it made me so happy to feel like I was giving back something really positive in that situation. Yeah.
How do you feel each time you sing the song? Obviously, if you want to talk about this, maybe talk about another one of your songs in the sense of maybe going into higher end, because we've talked about this. But does different parts of it get different meanings from each time you sing it, depending on what your mood is? So if you're in a happier mood, when you're singing the song, it actually it's coming out differently.
Potentially, yeah. Sometimes I always try and do something a little bit different every time when I'm playing the things live. Unfortunately, I haven't really had the position. I'm not in the position to have been trying it out on the road a lot because I'm in Calgary treating my health problems. So I haven't actually played it a huge amount of times after the video was finished, to be honest. So I don't really know the answer fully to that yet. But yeah, definitely what I try and do is embody the headspace that I was in when I writ it all the time performance, because then I think you can be more true to the performance. It can be pretty taxing sometimes when it's such a heavy topic, because then if you've got a set list particularly, then you've got to switch into some other thing. So you've got to think really carefully about where am I going to put this. It's like acting, right? If you're singing about something so deep, you can't just do like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to embody it a little bit. So even if you're,
I totally agree, man. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if you have a set list and you put this type of song, this type of content in the center of your set list, right? Like you start off all happy and dancy, right? And then you go through this song, and then it's like, how do you switch back? How do you switch from happy to sad and then sad to happy in a set performance, right? Or even how do you start off? I could never imagine starting off a set list with this song, right? It's because it would just be difficult. This is something that would be like potentially the last song you're going to perform for the night. It would have to be. Like, I mean, in my opinion, I just can't see, because at least if it's the last song, you could take a few moments and like wind yourself down and then get into that to where, after the song is over with, you're not expected to go back out there and like perform something like Murderer, which is one of Ren's songs, right? And so, or Love Music Part 4. Could you imagine switching from this to Love Music Part 4? Yeah, so I get it.
So you've got to think really carefully about where am I going to put this. It's like acting, right? If you're singing about something so deep, you can't just do it like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to embody it a little bit. So even if you're feeling great, you've almost got to open a bit of a door to that, and then you've got to close the door to that. So it becomes something. It's a skill you try and train up with time, I suppose.
Yeah, because you're taking your audience and yourself on a journey, aren't you? So
exactly. So you've got to think about how that journey doesn't, because you wouldn't follow up that song with then a completely less like cheery, happy song, because it just wouldn't, unless there's some thread. I don't know.
So I'm not going to talk about Ren's music anymore. I'm going to talk about someone else's music, and I want to know, what song did you connect with? So like people were connecting with your songs, what song did you connect with that actually had that kind of impact?
Interesting. Oh, it's all sorts of stuff. Well, music's been my therapy, mate, for so long. There's one song particularly, and it hasn't got words. There's a song called Before the Beginning by John Frusciante, which was a take on Maggot Brain by Funkadelic. And it's just like 7 minutes of this guitar solo. Yeah. But it's like, sometimes I think like unspoken things can say more than words can. And like, it's just like this beautiful.
Sometimes unspoken things can say more than words can. Damn, that is deep. That is deep as shit. Sometimes unspoken things can say more than words can. Yeah. But it's like mind-blowing to think about it, but yeah. For sure.
Funkadelic, and it's just like 7 minutes of this guitar solo.
Yeah.
But it's like sometimes I think like unspoken things can say more than words can, and like it's just like this beautiful, beautiful solo, incredible progression of emotions. And so many times I used to just listen to that and zone out. The first time I heard it, I cried because I thought it was so beautiful. But yeah, that's probably one that I would say has helped me a lot.
Brilliant. If you put your music on shuffle and hand it to a random person,
Okay.
what would their 3 words be to describe your music taste?
Okay, I'd say diverse, eclectic, and refined.
Nice.
Yeah.
We know music can positively impact someone's mental health. Can you share an experience of when music has helped your mental health? You kind of touched on it just there.
All the time. Yeah, whether it be writing and turning bad situations into positive ones, whether it be listening for escapism, whether it just be like walking down the street, you're feeling glum and you put on a happy song and then all of a sudden like that cloudy day becomes sunny. I think it's incredibly powerful. For me, it's the closest thing to religion that I have. It's the closest thing to God that I know. I love music, yeah.
And obviously, just talking about mental health, just as a general, how much does it mean to you to kind of help people in terms of yourself as well, with mental health and journey, telling your story? Does it help you? Do you enjoy actually talking about mental health and helping others?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think that, like I was saying before, it's foundational. So like the way, if we look after our mental health as a collective, then our societies function much healthier. Because if it's from places of disease that we make decisions that I think that are not beneficial for the function of our society. So for me,
it's from a place of disease. Damn. Even in a freaking interview, this dude is like a poet. The fuck? Come on, Ren.
From places of disease that we make decisions that I think that are not beneficial for the function of our society. So for me to be able to be vocal about that and try and help in what way I can through my music or through just talking about it, I think it's incredibly vital, not just for me, but for the survival of our species. Yeah.
So I'm going to wrap up now. I just wanted to say, again, reiterate my thanks. As someone that's got live with experience and talking on behalf of lots of people that have listened to your music that I know have live with experience, I've heard on numerous occasions how much your work is helping people with mental health. And the way you might not want to see it when you're looking at the comments, you need to hear it, because keep on that journey, because you are literally making a difference to so many people's lives.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, man.
Yes, likewise, man. Likewise.
It's hard to take off from the ground when your wings are cut. Your stomach burns when you're drinking from an empty cup. You know the entire ocean came from my tear ducts. I see the world through Fibonacci sequences and double Dutch. I guess there's some that's born lucky, there's some that's not. I tried to cut away my bitterness. Hatchet job. I locked my youth inside the trunk, inside a pickup truck, then dumped that whole thing over that same bridge the night you jumped. I think about that sometimes, vividly. What it felt like to look down and see tranquility. One sudden movement in a world of possibility.
Goosebumps.
Only one movement to expose our fragility. I fucking miss you, and I miss myself. I miss thinking we were indestructible as hell. I miss chilling by the pier cave and kicking back with Callum, Hugo, Justin, Sega, Stevie, and the lads. I miss missing that. I numb myself to close the gap. I never even call them up. Distance is my plaster cast to tell the truth. The day you jumped, my childhood jumped too. But I still can't find the anger. All I find is missing you, man. I miss you. With all my rhymes, I picture running 5 minutes quicker. I'm right on time. I picture pulling you back over the edge and then we're crying and holding you, my brother, and telling you that it's fine, not the way that it worked. I was late like a jerk. There's not a day where I can find a way to break from the hurt. Your body missing, so we never got to wave to the hearse. I hope you're listening. I love you, man. I miss you absurd.
Dude, this song deserves an Academy Award. I'm telling you. That's what I'm talking about, man. This was a great interview. This was a great discussion, and props to Ren, and props to this organization. I think their name is Mind, the mental health charity. So yeah, and as always, I'm here for you guys as well. Holler at your boy if you ever need to talk somebody to talk to. Definitely hit up my link tree. My Instagram is in that. You can DM me anytime. So, for sure. I appreciate each and every one of you for joining me on this reaction adventure. If you have not yet joined my royal family, you could do that now by hitting the subscribe button down below, ringing notification bell, so you can receive all the notifications for all of my videos delivered directly to you. Like and share this video. Put a little King Freddy in somebody's life, make their day just a little bit better. Definitely comment down below what you want to see me react to next, and if I haven't already seen it, because I am a YouTube junkie, I will definitely react to it. Until next time, stay safe, stay strong, stay alive. Peace.